What's happening, guys? Welcome back to House of Cards. This is episode number 46, and we are coming back with another edition of Check Out This Set. Yes, I'm excited to dig into this episode and let you guys learn a little bit about this set that I love and have always loved, but I figured now is a good time to sort of maybe bring it to the spotlight a little bit. But before we do that, basic house cleaning stuff. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, if you haven't yet, that would be amazing. We got a nice bump of subscribers over the last week or so, and I really appreciate all the new subscribers to the channel. I hope you continue to find these videos interesting, educational, and hopefully something that you can use in your collecting careers. So with that said, if you also enjoy the video, please hit the like button at the end or the beginning or in the middle or wherever you feel inspired to do so. That would be awesome and help get the video out to more people. All right, well, now that that's all taken care of and out of the way, this episode of Check Out This Set is focused on a set from the early 90s that I'm sure a lot of you probably will remember once we show it here, but may not know too much about it or its history. So on these kind of episodes that I'm doing, check out this set, I wanted to explore a few different areas. So the first area is a little bit of the history of the set, just kind of giving any backstory, any sort of educational knowledge about the set, why it's cool, why I think it's cool, why it might be important to the hobby, or what have you. The next part is going to be a little bit more about the cards themselves, like what are some of the pop counts, what are some of the chase cards within the set, and of course, what are the values of them. And I think that kind of will help you sort of, wrap your head around what, might interest you or not interest you about these sets, but it hopefully gives you a nice, well-rounded sort of, look at it and give you an idea of why I chose it. So without any more yammering, let's jump into this first product. And what I'm going to start with this time is actually going to show you the product as I have some examples here. So back in 1991, I will just show you the card and then we'll dig into a little bit of the history. So remember these? So this is called the Provisions, and this was released by Fleer back in the early 90s. These were released within multiple sports. The first ones actually were baseball, and then they did kind of football and then basketball shortly thereafter. The cool thing about these is really the story of the artist and sort of how this whole card kind of came to realization. But first, I just kind of wanted to show you one of these in hand, and we'll kind of look at some of the ones. So this is the 1991 set, starting with the Jordan, which is obviously the chase card. You got your Magic Johnson, you got your David Robinson, you got your Charles Barkley, you got your Patrick Ewing, you got your Karl Malone. It's a nice small 6-card set. There's pretty much all members of the Dream Team. So pretty collectible Hall of Famers there. But let's look at this set in a little bit more detail. Who's behind the artwork? What, was sort of the point of this whole thing? How did it come together? We'll kind of quickly go through that. So I have this great article here that Beckett actually wrote not too long ago. And this is about the artist who is named Terry Smith, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Fleer Provision cards. So, it's been almost 20 years now since a Provision card has been available, but it's definitely still sort of held a pretty strong place within the hobby for people that really are definitely into the 90s kind of stuff. So you can see a picture there of the artist Terry Smith there with his paintings. And what's cool about him is that this isn't kind of modern day where everything is done digitally. This is all done by painting. So I believe he does airbrushing is his medium, but it's cool that what he does is he first paints it on an actual canvas, and then what they did was they scanned it in and put it into a format to put onto the cards. So pretty cool. I feel like it gives it a little bit more like true artist value because it was actually hand painted originally, which were therefore commissioned by Fleer to use in the cards. So it was pretty early on, in the 80s, he said he was, remembers Don Russ and the Diamond King set, which of course is another iconic kind of illustration set that's still going on today. You can still pull those out of Donruss packs. That gave him some inspiration, and then he started doing some artist renderings of his own, and he started with his first one he did here was the Dwight Gooden card, the flamethrower card, which was definitely a really cool kind of first example of what his mind was at with this whole concept. So a little bit, a little bit exaggerated. Obviously, his club's on fire, but, still has a lot of realism in the actual artwork of the athlete, which I think is really cool. It's not like too far into the like comic-y world. So anyways, he negotiated with Fleer for a while. They finally came to an agreement that he would do the set for them. And the very first one that came out was actually baseball cards. So the first set in 91 was a small set for the baseball set of 91 Fleer baseball. Sorry, a little repetitive. So basically, they had these black borders. And if you remember, 91 Fleer is like that bright yellow cardstock, so they would really stand out, against that when you would see them in the pack. So it became one of the more earlier chase cards or inserts, insert chase cards within most sets. But the first year included, for baseball was like Kirby Puckett, Mark McGwire, Bo Jackson, kind of all of those superhero sort of, minded athletes to focus on, which is really cool. So I like the fact that he really got, a lot of the best athletes into these sets. And then there was another follow-up that was had white borders, but it was only issued in the Fleer Factory set, and that was a 4-card set, which featured the biggest one was in there's probably Ricky Henderson. So as he went on, there was ideas of him doing more now, so they obviously wanted to expand it. So they went into NFL. And then, that one included, it was a 10-card set. So it was, had silver borders and green lettering. So it had, some of the greats like Joe Montana, Lawrence Taylor, and Barry Sanders. And then the first NBA set came out, and that was the one we just showed, which included Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Magic Johnson, David Robinson, and Patrick Ewing. So all from the Dream Team. So the first, Provision cards were inserted into wax packs into football and the basketball cards. The following year, however, they no longer featured it as a separate insert set. It was instead being incorporated into the regular issue sets. So the full sets. So it was a little bit disappointing because I think a lot of people liked them in the wax packs. So it wasn't the greatest. The Provision's baseball images, the first year they went from 12 in the 91 issue, including 4 more that were inserted in the factory-only sets, to only 6 in the following year. Same thing in the football as well. They went from 11, including there's one that was in the update set, which was Jerry Rice, dwindled it down to 6 in the 92 football release. So, for some reason they scaled it back. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like a money thing or they didn't want to pay him as much to do as many or what, which seems weird because back in the early 90s, I feel like these card companies were just like printing money because it was the junk wax era. In 92-93 basketball, they also released only 6 of his images. It wasn't as star-studded as like the first year when they had basically the Dream Team in there, but they had some pretty good players and the cards were pretty cool. They kind of had a gold border with a little basketball texture on them. Tim Hardaway was one of them, and they had some cool players, but again, it wasn't like the big names like Jordan and everyone else. And then by 93, Smith was no longer doing it, and they decided to go away from Smith, and they started using other artists. And for an example, when they 93, 94, they went a little bit more like psychedelic with it, with this kind of a style, which is still cool in my mind, but it doesn't have that like OG, sort of look, which is a little bit more subdued, a little bit less wild, but still, they got at least some of the essence of what Smith was able to create in the first place. And the artist, so you can see the illustration, is W. Still. So don't know who that is exactly, but definitely not the man we're talking about. And here's another one from 93, 94, and this is Elijah one. out in the jungle of Africa sweating. So again, you could totally see way different style compared to the original Smith drawings there. So again, not terrible, but not the same. An interesting little thing that most people don't know is that Smith retained all the rights to his artwork to be able to use it in any other fashion he wanted. And there was actually another set that came into being, which was the it was called the it was the Diamond Marks. So not to be confused with any other diamond, Diamond Club, Diamond this, Diamond that. But Diamond Marks was a set that was licensed by baseball, and they created a set, and it was called the Barry Kalla set. It was so Kalla, Diamond Marks, and then they had special inserts that used Smith's illustrations. But the reason was interesting is these cards were actually designed to look more like bookmarks. So they're kind of long and skinny versus, your traditional 2.5, 3.5 card size. So they actually are still pretty collectible. Some of the bigger ones we'll show you here are the Ken Griffey Jr. and there's Nolan Ryan. And some of them he did use the same artwork, and what he had to do is he had to expand on the artwork in order to make it as long as the bookmark, because the original artwork was more kind of had the proportions of a card, versus now it had to be long and skinny like a bookmark. But here's an example of a box you can actually buy right now on eBay for $89.99, full unopened box, 48 count, so a lot of packs in there. But then here you'll see some of the cards here. So you'll see here, this is the Nolan Ryan, which is actually the same picture as he used on the Fleer. But then what he had to do is he had to extend it up, because if you imagine the original card was only yay big. So all this above up here was actually added in later. So he actually drew in this kind of broken wall sort of up here with the baseball and everything else. So pretty cool cards. You can actually get these PSA graded and everything, and I think they look really cool. I've been looking at the other players like Griffey and whatnot, and they're definitely not very easy to find. Definitely not very easy to find in good condition. So I would probably recommend looking for these in already either in wax, because I'm getting a wax box for $89. If you can pull out a Griffey, you'll definitely be doing pretty well. But here's kind of like what the regular cards look like within the set as well. So you can kind of see they're just tall and skinny like that. But then, of course, the special Smith inserts are, I don't know what the pack odds are, and I should have gotten that for you. But I heard they're not like super common, but you will get a handful per box, so it's not completely out of the norm. All right, so now that we kind of learned a little bit about the history of Mr. Smith and his drawings, and there he is with his airbrush doing a very cool Michael Jordan one. And again, him owning all of the original art is pretty cool too, because he can still, do what he wants with them. So if he ever did want to kind of do a revisit of it, it would be interesting to see what he would do. But I guess he does have a lot of projects right now. He is still doing with a lot of different entities within sports. So the man is still busy, and he made his mark on the card and the hobby early on in his career. That probably led to a lot of his current work. So let's take a look here at what some of the prices are going for some of the Provisions card. And we're just going to focus mostly on the 91 basketball, just because it has the most, kind of volume out there. And we'll kind of quickly peek around here. I just typed in 91 Fleer Provisions PSA 10, and here's some stuff, sales as recent as a few days ago. So you can see the Magic Johnson here sold for about $100. Well, it's plus $12.86 in shipping, so probably closer to $110. Of course, the Jordan is kind of the chase, so that sold on the same day for $325. So I want you guys to understand the nice arbitrage here between these cards, getting them raw, which you can generally get the Jordans for under $10 by themselves. Of course, the hard part is finding them in mint condition and well-centered, so it definitely takes a little digging around on eBay. But they are findable. I found a couple myself that I've already gotten, and they look pretty good. So I'm excited to see if I can get some of those back in high grades. But I mean, it's a pretty good arbitrage. You get a card for $8, $9, $10, and you can get it graded for $20 and turn around and it sells for $325. I mean, not bad, right? Here's another one for $375. And then, here's some of the early baseball. This is the Ricky Henderson. This was a PSA 10, sold for $60. So again, not bad, considering I bet you this card is probably in most people's like $quarter bins. So you can probably find that for fairly cheap. Another Jordan for almost $300. Best offer on Magic. Not sure what that went for. Here's one that went for $136. Ricky, complete set here. Sold for almost $100 raw. 270, 255. So, the Jordans are kind of hovering, around that $300 mark on average, usually a little bit higher, as you can see there. Magics are going, upwards of $100 to $200. I mean, look at that, paying up to $450. This is only back in February, so not that long ago. Now, some of the other players don't go for quite as much. This was a raw Malone, actually went for $20, so that's pretty good. Patrick Ewing here went for $130, Malone $120, David Robinson $130. So, I mean, they all carry a decent value to them. Look at the baseball. Bo Jackson went for almost $500. That's incredible. So, again, any of these that you can find in high grade are definitely valuable, and it takes a little digging and a little surfing to find these on eBay, but they are out there. And again, you can also try your hand at just getting a wax box of 91 Fleer and just opening it up and seeing what you can pull. Those are still available fairly cheap. I'd say in the low $100 range you can find basketball, 91 Fleer basketball. Of course, those continue to go up as people are getting more and more attracted to the early 90s junk wax stuff, just because of this very fact that the gem rate is so low that it's very hard to find them raw on eBay, and they rather just take a chance at cracking them out of packs. So let's take a look at the PSA reports here. So I pulled up the PSA Fleer Provisions 91. This is the basketball. And you can see there's only been about 1,897 total graded, with the highest one, of course, being the Michael Jordan, being about 80% of that, about 1,496. So, but the rest of them, look at that, only 121, 66, 73, 73, 68. So all of them, the rest of them are like pretty much all under 100. But the Jordan, of course, is the dominating one. But only 512 PSA 10s, which is very low, considering this card was plentiful. This was not a short printed card by any means. I mean, it was more short printed than probably the base Michael Jordan card from 91 Fleer, but it definitely there's definitely a lot of them out there. You can see the gem rate is about 30%. So not too bad, not as low as like some other cards like from junk wax time. There's some that get really, really, really astronomically low gem rates, specifically like 89 Upper Deck Griffeys and stuff. I think it's like 7% gem rate. But anyways, this is 30% is still about half of what the modern cards gem at. So still somewhat hard. 8s and 9s are obviously your make up a good chunk, but 9s obviously being the biggest there. That's about 50% of them come back 9s. So on the other cards, though, a little bit better gem rates. The 10s, you can see there that probably is about 70%. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here, same thing there. So, I mean, there's definitely a what I would probably guess is people are being a little bit more selective with the other ones, just because the value is not as high, and the cost of grading and all that stuff makes you question if you want to send it in. Whereas if you get a Jordan back and it's a PSA 9, it's still fetching about $100. So there's definitely still worth it even if you get a 9 in the Jordan. Whereas if you get a 9 in the other ones, you're probably talking $30-$40. So definitely you got to think about it a little bit harder, especially with the new PSA prices. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I just wanted to spend a second going over that set with you. I really enjoyed this set. I think it mixes that great world of art and, sports cards. And I definitely do think, with a lot of the newer kind of art-focused cards that people have been really enjoying, I do think that these types of cards are going to have a nice future with collectors starting to look back in time at, where some of the origins are for the art sports cards. So, without any more yammering on my side, I want to say thank you again for watching. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would. I promise it'll be worth it. And if you enjoyed this video and made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, because that really helps me know if I'm making videos that you guys like. If you have any comments or questions about the Pro Vision set, please drop them below. I'd love to answer any comments you've seen. If you've seen any of my other videos, I respond to every single comment. So love to engage, love to kind of talk sports cards with you guys. And I think that's about it. So until next time, guys, peace.